Yes, sir. 25-year-old female who is a homemaker has presented with right-sided weakness since one day. History of present illness. She woke up at 6 a.m. to find she is paralyzed on the right side and she is not able to speak.
Yes. Yes. So what do you think?
Sir, since this is acute onset, it can be cerebrovascular accident.
What is she having?
Weakness.
What's that called?
Hemiplegia.
Hemiplegia. So this lady is having hemiplegia. So you think it's a vascular cause for hemiplegia. What are the other causes of hemiplegia?
It can be cerebral tumors.
It can be tumor, yes.
Then hematoma.
Subdural hematoma, fine.
Hemorrhage.
That's all cerebrovascular accident.
Then demyelination.
Not commonly though.
Cerebral abscess.
Abscess can very well produce, yes. It behaves like a tumor, correct? Other conditions where you can have weakness.
Infective causes.
Like?
Encephalitis.
Encephalitis, okay. Then? Can you get a sequelae of seizure disorder?
Yes, sir.
How long does it last?
Acute.
Pardon?
Sir, it will be acute.
Yes, how long it will last? Will it recover or is it permanent?
It will.
After how many days it will recover?
Usually takes only a short duration, like minutes.
It will last 48 to 72 hours. What do you call this type of paralysis?
Postictal.
Called as?
Torts paralysis. Torts paralysis.
Torts paralysis, that's okay. Correct answer. Any other cause for right-sided hemiplegia other than vascular accident, tumors, abscess and post-seizure? Can you get somebody with a headache frequently coming to make my headache and then hemiplegia recovers again, gets like that?
Transient ischemic attack.
No, that's all part of cerebral accident.
Migraine.
Yes, hemiplegic migraine can present like this. Can you mention some metabolic problem a patient can have hemiplegia?
Hypoglycemia can.
Hypoglycemia can. So, right side weakness possibilities are ever so many. One such cause is cerebrovascular accident. She analyzed the history of present illness.
She woke up at 6 a.m. to find she is paralyzed on the right side and she is not able to speak.
Okay.
This is an acute onset and there is maximum paralysis during presentation, so likely to be a ischemic stroke than a hemorrhagic stroke.
How do you know it is acute? At what time of the day or night it occurred? Can you tell me the time at which it occurred?
Usually in the early morning.
No, in this particular patient, what time she got paralyzed?
6 a.m. she woke up and she was paralyzed.
So at what time she was paralyzed actually?
It will be before that.
So when it will be?
During sleep.
During sleep, so it could be any time.
Yes, sir.
What is the importance of this question and what's the importance of this answer?
Thrombotic stroke usually occurs during sleep and patient wakes up with paralysis.
Yes, but since you do not know the exact minute or hour at which it occurred. We cannot tell how many hours duration is the illness, and so when you plan for thrombolysis, which has to be done within 4.5 hours, we have no clue when it occurred. So this is the importance. So you think that patient went to sleep at 10 p.m. It could be any time after that. So we have no idea how many hours she was paralyzed earlier. So
Yes, sir.
she found herself paralyzed at 6 a.m. That means she got paralyzed any time during the sleep. So the duration can be 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours. It can be any time. And this lady is not able to speak. What do you make out of that?
She is having aphasia.
Anything else you can make out?
It can be dysarthria.
She's not able to speak at all.
Then it is aphasia, motor aphasia.
Well, since the speech is gone, we have to immediately localize it anterior to the central fissure. So this comes under the category of anterior group of strokes. Anterior circulatory strokes will be characterized by dysphasia, aphasia, and speech problems. Posterior circulatory strokes are not usually characterized by aphasia. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So your possibility and provisional diagnosis is
cerebrovascular accident due to an ischemic cause.
is it common to have a cerebrovascular accident at the age of 25?
There's an entity called young stroke, usually seen in young adults.
What is the age group for that?
Less than 40 years.
Less than 40 years, approximate cutoff. Some people say up to 45. Anyway, the meaning is same. She is young, relatively young. We expect stroke to occur at the age of 60, 65, 70, 75. Here's a relatively young active person. So where is the lesion localized?
Cortical involvement, since there is aphasia. Frontal lobe.
Do you think it's a frontal lobe? So which blood vessel is supplying that area?
Middle cerebral artery.
Middle cerebral artery. Middle cerebral artery. Okay. So right hemiplegia, anatomically you put a cortex, etiologically you put as thrombus. We have no clue. It could be embolism, we don't know. Anyway, it didn't occur when the patient was active. So it can put only as a ischemic stroke. Vascular territory also you have said. What can be etiology? What can be etiology? Pathology is embolism or thrombus. What etiology?
It can be due to atrial fibrillation. Embolic stroke usually due to atrial fibrillation, and in young individuals it can be due to antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. Then homocystinuria, protein C, proteinase deficiency. All this causes young stroke.
Anyway, coming to the commonest among them, actually commonest cause for young stroke. Commonest. There are many rare things. Out of that, which one you will put it as possibility?
Atrial fibrillation.
Yes, that's okay. Cardiac causes. Say cardioembolic may be the top on the list.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to know in the past history and family history?
In the past history, we should ask about if she had any previous attacks, previous history of weakness or any neurological deficit. Then we should ask if she is having dyslipidemia. Also, we should ask about a family history of dyslipidemia, coronary artery disease, cerebrovascular accidents, diabetes.
Suppose the patient says that she had some injury to her neck. Children were playing cricket and the ball came and hit her neck. What possibility will suspect? Some minor trauma. your captain of your blue team, Neelakurinji captain, face was bowling and some housewife got struck on the neck. What's the possibility?
Carotid dissection.
So dissection to trauma. So it asks history of trauma in the patient. And if somebody is coughing or sneezing, possibility of an embolism coming up is possible. Suppose somebody is getting during the peak of the sex, what is the possibility?
Due to
emotional problems. Usually subarachnoid hemorrhage or intracerebral hemorrhage occur. Suppose in the last 1 month, this patient is having intermittent fever, what possibility you suspect? The fever indicates infection, immunological problem, malignancy, miscellaneous things, basics. So infection somewhere. Commonest infection going for weeks together before a vascular accident is infected endocarditis.
Okay, sir.
Okay, whenever there's infection, a good face, lot of noise is going on. Everyone is requested to keep mute form, except the speaker. I don't know where the sound coming from. So when there's infection, acute phase reactants go up and predispose for thrombus formation. Okay, so there can be other types of infections predisposing for vascular accidents. What are those infections in relation to? Give some 1 or 2 examples.
Neurosyphilis.
Syphilis can produce vascularity. Very good. Tuberculosis, arthritis, meningitis, you can have. Okay, tuberculosis, syphilis, it can produce. Can you inflammation which can produce? Inflammation is known to produce fever. So inflammations, vasculitis, primary cerebral vasculitis. You can have vasculitis of any etiology, also affecting the brain. If there's a history of headaches just before the onset of vascular accident, possibilities are
hemorrhage.
So what else history you want along with the history of weakness? If suppose a history of vomiting, what do you want? What will make out of that?
Vomiting, there is it can be due to hemorrhage or increased
that's
it can be
the one possibility. Second possibility is a posterior circulatory stroke can affect the vomiting center also. You can have vomiting, and posterior circulatory strokes are likely to produce edema that itself can precipitate vomiting. Is there a history of seizure in this patient? We don't know. If there's a history of seizure,
no.
Possibilities?
Seizure can be present in cortical. If cortical involvement is there, then there can be seizures.
Particularly if there's irritation like hemorrhage or seizure can be there. This patient was fully conscious. If the patient is slightly drowsy, what possibility would come to your mind? History. We're talking about history.
Cortical involvement will produce loss of consciousness.
Simple, straightforward. CVA, altered sensorium is not expected. If you find a hemiplegic patient is having altered sensorium, think about hemorrhage. If there's a focal deficit, and if there's no focal deficit, think about subarachnoid hemorrhage. Third is about cerebral edema producing altered sensorium. Hyponatremia and other causes of altered sensorium can also be there. So minimum things you have to ask in this case, like headache, seizure,
vomiting,
altered sensorium, fever, particularly in a young stroke, is very important.
Yes, sir.
In the past history and family history, anything else you want to know? Okay. So, you want to know about migraine? Yes.
Yes, sir.
You want to know about mood disorder in this patient?
Yes, sir.
3 brothers had stroke at the age of 30 to 35. So it's something that runs in family. So mention few conditions where can be familial problems producing hemiplegia. A group of conditions called thrombophilias can run in families. Okay, we'll come to more possibilities at the end. So, personal history and treatment history, what all things you want?
We have to know about if there is any urinary incontinence or then sleep.
Okay. Anything
Then,
else?
If there is any addictions,
Like
smoking.
what addiction? Smoking. So, although we say young stroke, all the risk factors for adult stroke is applicable for them, like smoking, diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia. Everything is possible in this case also. So premature atherosclerosis can create problems. Premature.
Okay, sir.
So those possibilities must also be considered whenever there is a problem of cerebrovascular accident. Coming back to the addiction, cocaine is important thing in relation to young people, particularly male patients coming. How does cocaine produce problems? Cocaine produces a particular type of arteriopathy and which can predispose either to ischemia or to hemorrhage. Cocaine basically produces vasoconstriction and it can accelerate the platelet aggregation and it can also lead on to cardiac arrhythmias and embolism. It can produce both ischemia and also it can produce hemorrhage. So history is important in this patient. What about treatment history?
Was there any previous treatment for transient ischemic attack?
That's very good. Transient attack is a must. That history must come forth. Yes.
Then any diabetic, anti-diabetic medications taken?
Anti-diabetic medication, anti-hypertensive medication, medication
anticoagulants.
That is the most important. Anticoagulant. If the patient is already on anticoagulant, hemorrhage is a possibility.
Okay, sir.
That's right. And if the anticoagulation was not adequate dose, that may be one clue that there was a chance for thrombus producing embolism. So treatment history becomes relevant here.
Okay, sir.
So personal and treatment history is normal. And coming to the diagnosis, you said thrombus is possible. When do you suspect embolism?
There will be a source of embolus, any cardiac abnormality or will be usually present in case of embolic stroke.
Usually it occurs suddenly. So if somebody is working and within seconds time somebody is getting paralyzed, you know it is possibly embolism. And embolism usually produces large infarct, and subsequently there may be hemorrhage also taking place. If the source of the embolism is from the heart, for example, it may go to different blood vessels. So you may get multiple areas of ischemia when you do the imaging.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you may get history that suddenly patient recovered. That also may be clue that possibility is having
embolic
stroke. So headache, vomiting, seizure, altered sensorium, fever, these are all common things you ask. Young stroke can be because of some autoimmune disease, vasculitis. So just like any other vasculitis, PUO, arthralgia, myalgia, rashes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And, if it's a female patient, repeated abortions may give a clue to what?
Antiphospholipid antibodies.
That's right. So that the personal history is about the female patient. You would like to know whether she's on any oral contraceptive pill.
Yes, sir.
They are more likely to have occlusions. So treatment history and personal history must go with more detail, especially the family history, previous history. Always taking for granted that this can be accelerated atherosclerosis in a young person. So diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, smoking is important, but other things must come in the history. OCP, anticoagulation. Okay, so bit more elaboration is required in this case. What all things you want to do in general examination?
We have to look pulse.
Pulse, yes, we look what for?
If there is atrial fibrillation, there will be irregular pulse.
Rhythm you have to check. Okay, one point is rhythm. Suppose there's a bradycardia, what do you make out of that?
Raised intracranial tension.
Okay, Cushing's effect may be there.
Cushing's, yes, sir.
What else you want to do in the pulse?
If there is irregular pulse, you have to look for pulse deficit.
Okay, features of atrial fibrillation. Okay.
Then peripheral pulses.
If they are absent,
there can be thrombus or embolism.
There can be embolism. If peripheral pulses are absent, anything else is possible.
DIC.
Vascular accidents. So there can be embolism, there can be vasculitis. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Male patients, particularly if they're smokers, the entity called as TAO, thromboembolic obliterans, which can also have involvement of the blood vessels of the brain, and they can have vascular accidents. So lower limb pulse, upper limb pulse, all peripheral pulses are important. What about carotids?
Carotid is important.
Which carotid you are palpating?
Internal carotid.
How do you palpate internal carotid?
With thumb.
What you palpate in the neck is the common carotid. Internal carotid cannot be palpated through the neck. It is palpated by putting your finger in the tonsillar fossa. It is not possible. So
yes,
commonly you are going for palpation of the common carotid. And then you are palpating the superficial temporal artery, a branch of external carotid artery, to make sure that external carotid is intact.
Okay,
While doing that, if the patient says tenderness over the superficial temporal artery, then our diagnosis goes to temporal arteritis. So examination of the neck vessel is important, and if it is asymmetrical or anything, you have to look for a bruit as well. So
yes, sir.
Yes, what else?
It's blood pressure.
Blood pressure was mentioned normal.
And
this patient was found to be anemic. What else can it be? Anemia can be pointed towards endocarditis. Sickle cell anemia can be anemic, and you can have occlusion of your blood vessels. Suppose the eyes are congested, what will you make out of that?
Hemorrhage.
Polycythemia. So very red eye, it may be polycythemia. Is there any connection between polycythemia and hemiplegia?
Polycythemia can
polycythemia can predispose for thrombus formation.
Cause occlude.
It occludes, yes, okay. So that one cause for young stroke can be polycythemia. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Examination. Will you look at the nail beds? You may find clubbing or splinter hemorrhages, which will point towards diagnosis of infective endocarditis.
Endocarditis.
And if there is a purple colored tender lesions to the pulp of your finger. P, purple. P, pulp of your finger. P, painful. Small spots. P, P, P. You think about Osler's notes. Again, indication of endocarditis. You find similarly the palm, Janeway lesions can be seen. So general examination is important. If there is any arthritis, you can see. If there are ecchymotic patches, purpura you can see. Palpal purpuras, generalized localized alopecia, any particular rash suggestive of maybe SLE or any other autoimmune disease, everything will be obvious in the general examination.
Okay, sir.
Nicotine stained finger goes without saying in male patients.
Yes, sir.
Basically, you are looking for what has produced the problem in this particular patient.
Okay, sir.
And you look for signs of endocarditis. You look for xanthomas. How many types of xanthomas are there?
Xanthoma.
Palpebrarum. You know palpebrarum around the eyelids. Okay, then you have
Yes, sir.
of the tendons, tendinosum. Then you have the tuberosities, tibial tuberosities, tuberosum. Then you can have streaks in the palms, called palm iris. Then you can have eruptive type of lesions in the gluteal area, eruptiva. So 5 different types of xanthomas. It
Okay, sir.
patients having autosomal dominant hypercholesterolemia. That may be one predisposing factor. Flu may be there because the patient is young. And evidence of atherosclerosis may be there. And features cyanotic heart disease. When you look at the nail beds, if there's cyanosis, how does it help you?
It can be cyanotic heart disease.
How does it produce stroke?
It can lead to thrombus.
Yes. See, secondary polycythemia is a very common feature of cyanotic heart disease. That can be the reason. There can be embolism, and cyanotic heart disease also makes you susceptible for brain abscess. That can also be caused. Okay, so there are a couple of things you have to do in the general examination. Each and every step is important. Conjunctiva, anemia, polycythemia. You are looking for nail beds, couple of things, clubbing, splinter hemorrhages, cyanosis, palms for Janeway lesions. Basically for the target is in your mind. Your mind must work. What's the evidence of smoking? What's the evidence of endocarditis? Is there any xanthomas? Yeah? Is the blood pressure normal?
Okay, sir.
Focused examination. What else can be performed general examination? Yes, you already mentioned these possibilities already. So system examination, what do you want?
CNS examination.
What all things?
First, higher mental functions.
Okay. Second?
Second is motor.
Second is cranial nerves.
Cranial nerves.
Cranial examination, specifically you look at the fundus. Fundus examination may give clue. Is it diabetic fundus? Is it hypertensive fundus? Is there evidence of cholesterol embolism?
Okay, sir.
Bleeding, suggestive of leukemia. Is the center clearance? Is there a subhyaloid hemorrhage? That's also very classical. In case of fundus examination will give clue to some diagnosis sometimes. If it's a brain abscess, maybe there is papilledema.
Okay, sir.
So system cranial nerve examination is important. Asymmetry of pupil must think whether patient is going for coning.
Okay, sir.
Cranial nerve examination. What else? Next one is motor system.
Motor system.
What do you want to see in the motor system?
Bulk.
Bulky, we don't expect anything problem here because of acute onset.
Okay, sir. Then tone.
What is tone?
Tone is the passive resistance to passive movement.
So tone is defined as what? Amount of partial contraction present in a muscle at rest, as evidenced by resistance to passive movement. This is what is called as tone. What is the expected tone in this patient?
Since this is an upper motor neuron lesion, hypertonia.
What's the specific term used for increased tone in pyramidal lesion?
Clasp knife.
What?
Spasticity.
Spasticity. So motor system examination, you are looking for spasticity, which will usually occur after a few days. Day 1, you will be getting more likely a flaccid state or decreased tone. Why?
Spinal shock. There is a stage of shock.
How long does it last?
It can last for up to 24 hours.
It lasts up to 3 weeks. It takes time for spasticity to develop. How will you look for spasticity?
We ask the patient to we perform passive movement on the patient.
How fast you will do it?
Spasticity is velocity dependent.
So you do it slow or fast?
You do it initially slow and.
So spasticity is elicited by rapid movement. Rigidity is elicited by slow movement. So you look for tone. After tone, what's the next step?
Power.
Power. Motor power is 0 here. Yes. What next?
Power. Then reflexes.
Reflexes are absent in this patient. Deep tendon reflexes are all absent. What do you expect in the abdominal reflex and plantar response?
Plantar will be extensor plantar.
Okay. Abdominal reflex.
Abdominal reflex will be absent.
Will be absent. So, and no involuntary movements are seen. Sensory system examination, what do you expect?
Cortical sensations.
In a cortical lesion, cortical sensation may be lost. Name the cortical sensation you know of.
Tactile localization, tactile discrimination, stereognosis, graphesthesia.
One more.
Sensory inattention.
So those things are also looked for. They are absent. Signs of mental irritation is not present in this particular patient. So
okay,
why you are getting absent reflexes in this patient?
Because of spinal shock.
Spinal shock. So why do you say it's a pyramidal lesion then?
Because there is no wasting or fasciculations.
Upgoing plantar makes you feel it is upper motor neuron lesion. Also, you find upper limb and lower limb are simultaneously affected, and the facial asymmetry is also there, and speech is also affected. So that's why I think it is a yes. So this patient has got motor aphasia, right human facial palsy, and these are the findings. So what is meant by aphasia?
Aphasia is inability of speech, inability to speak.
That's good. What is meant by aphasia?
Disorder of language.
So what is a language?
Communication, fluency, then comprehension and repetition.
A person converts his ideas into words. That is called as language. Language is a conversion of ideas into words. And that is defective. You call it as aphasia. So how do you test for aphasia?
We have to test for fluency, comprehension, and repetition.
And how do you test for fluency?
Ask the patient to speak.
Got it.
If
you just count the number of words he is able to speak in 1 minute. For example, ask him to describe. He started from his home till he reached here. Describe what all things happened. Or what was he doing from the beginning when he woke up today morning till now, what was happening. Or show him a book or a photo and ask him to describe it and see the fluency with which he tells his ideas.
Okay, sir.
How to check his comprehension?
We have to ask him to do something and check if he is able to understand.
Understand. Okay. Repetition, you know. And will you take history for any naming defect?
Yes, sir. Can be anomic aphasia.
Where do you localize anomia?
Left hemisphere, middle inferior temporal gyrus.
No, it
Arcuate.
actually naming has no specific localizing value.
Okay,
so
sir.
The patient has got motor aphasia. Where do you localize?
Motor aphasia is in Broca's area,
Where is
inferior frontal gyrus, area number 44-45.
And where is the center for comprehension?
Wernicke's area.
Where is it situated?
Superior temporal gyrus.
Superior temporal gyrus. So this patient has got motor aphasia or hemiplegia. During sleep it has occurred. So
Yes.
young person. So we have to proceed further. Okay. What other systems you want to examine?
CVS examination.
You want to do a detailed CVS examination. Very good. What else system?
Then
He would have aspirated. No?
Yes, sir.
That is okay. Abdomen, what you want to examine? If you said endocarditis, you expect splenomegaly.
yes, sir.
Or ischemia,
Yes.
hepatomegaly and splenomegaly. So in other words, all the systems needs attention.
Okay, sir.
Is any system that can be clue to our diagnosis. So final diagnosis comes as
Cerebrovascular accident due to an ischemic pathology, right-sided hemiplegia, then middle cerebral artery tertiary, left hemisphere of cortex.
so diagnosis functionally young stroke, hemiplegia, anatomically left cortex, etiologically most likely thrombus, embolism we don't know, vascular territories left middle cerebral artery territory. So pathologically is a thrombus, etiology is something that we have to find out by investigations. Pathology is a
Okay,
thrombus
sir.
and etiology remains question mark here. So when you present a case, you are expected to tell first what is a deficit, that is functional problem, then you have to localize, then you tell what is the possible pathology and possible etiology and risk factors in the case of stroke. She is not a diabetic, hypertensive, no dyslipidemia, no OCP use, not an alcoholic, she is not using cocaine. So no such risk factor. Conventional risk factors are not seen. Risk factors, as you know, can be classified into modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. Both has to be separately seen. So what are the investigations for a young stroke?
You have to look for antibodies.
Which antibody you want?
anti-nuclear antibody.
So basically,
What?
we go with a hemogram, ESR. 120 ESR, 130 ESR points to some systemic inflammation, infection going on.
Okay, sir.
And it may be the clue to autoimmune disease, tuberculosis. It may give clue to polycythemia. So basically, hemogram can be done. Yes. ESR can be done.
Coagulation.
Fasting and postprandial glucose level.
Yes, sir.
We can do a checker lipid profile. Conventional things.
Yes.
Yes. Then
coagulation study.
What coagulation study you want? So first thing, foremost thing in the case of stroke is we want to divide them into hemorrhagic stroke or ischemic stroke. So due to LCT head to decide hemorrhage or ischemia. In this particular patient, most likely it is a ischemic stroke.
Ischemic stroke.
If you find multiple areas are affected by ischemia, then immediately your attention goes to heart, a source of embolism going to different areas. So it's very important to have a basic safety. So you confirm it is a vascular accident, you confirm ischemia, then you are going to find etiology. How do you find out the etiology? Investigation for etiology.
Imaging can be done.
Tell specifically imaging.
CT, MRI.
Etiology already done. To find the etiology, what do you want to do?
ECG can be done.
Very good. ECG must be done. Must be done. It may give clue to any arrhythmia. It may give clue to atrial hypertrophy, ventricular hypertrophy, underlying myocardial infarction. In this young lady, myocardial infarction may not be a possibility, but that must be done to rule out any underlying heart problem. Excellent answer. Yes.
Yes.
What else?
Then vascular imaging.
You go for a common thing is common. So cardiac source we said, go for a basic echocardiogram. That will tell you whether the body is affected. Is there any vegetation? Is a thrombus? And rarely detected things. There may patent foramen or vein, fibers, and embolism may be going to the brain. So echocardiogram is very important in this patient. So it is looking at rheumatic heart disease, infected endocarditis, atrial fibrillation. If there's a prosthetic valve already, there may be vegetations or thrombus that can also be seen. Patent foramen can be seen by doing echocardiogram. And there's entity called atrial septal aneurysm that can also be detected by looking at the echocardiogram. Very, very rare, but for completion's sake, myxoma of the left atrium can throw embolism, can produce. So echocardiogram becomes important investigation in this case. So one important cause is always a source of embolism coming from heart. And expecting any problem in the carotid, you go for a Doppler of the carotid as well.
Okay, sir.
Another group of tests we called as related to infection, blood culture if required, urine microscopy for hematuria. Hematological problems is another cause for stroke. So sickle cell disease, protein C, protein S, antithrombin 3, factors like Leiden mutation, homocystinemia, polycythemia, acquired prothrombotic state, all can be done by hematological investigations. If you are suspecting dissection, of course you go for MR angiogram of the neck and above, and you can find out what is happening.
Okay, sir.
If you are thinking about vasculitis, according to that you have to investigate. If you're suspecting small vessel vasculitis, investigations for that. If you're suspecting large vessel, investigate for that. If you're suspecting medium vessel, investigate for that. So that becomes a important investigation for this purpose.
Okay, sir.
So confirm diagnosis, you want CT scan, you want so many things. Don't miss urine microscopy. RBC is there, maybe glued endocarditis. So thrombophilia as a group, you know, protein C, protein S, antithrombin 3, factor 5, Leiden mutation, homocystinuria. So it's a group of conditions called thrombophilia. Everything needs to be worked out in a young stroke. Young stroke, you have to work out, and if you don't find any cause, possibly there is a patent of foramen vein through which a paradoxical embolism has taken place. What is a paradoxical embolism? Commonly, an embolism from the right side should go to the lung and stop there. But here, there is a communication between right side and left side. It can go to the left atria and from there to the system circulation and go. And how are you going to treat this young person?
In acute stroke, we have to stabilize the patient, airway, breathing, circulation. Management.
Yes, that's an excellent answer. Excellent answer.
Thrombolysis.
Yes.
Aspirin.
Okay. This the patient came within 4.5 hours. It's our duty to thrombolyze the patient or take the patient for thrombectomy, whichever is there. In this particular patient, that is not applicable. So can you tell me something about thrombolysis? Inclusion criteria is ischemic stroke within 4.5 hours. Bleeding is a contraindication. Anything else you want to say about thrombolysis?
There should not be delayed and given.
No, it should be within 4.5 hours.
There is a risk of hemorrhagic.
Okay, you give within 4.5 hours. Alteplase is one drug that is commonly given. Tenecteplase can also be given. Always think possibility of hemorrhage. Close monitoring to find out intracerebral bleeding is a must. Patient with a recent surgery, long clotting time, very high blood pressure. So there are many contraindications also. If there are no contraindication, if it is ischemic stroke within 4.5 hours can be considered for thrombolysis, provided the patient and relatives are willing for side effects if at all it occurs. So time of onset is important. Previous coming at early morning, time is not known.
Okay, sir.
So you have to give, if it is an ordinary case of stroke, anti-lipid drugs, control diabetes, hypertensions. So coming back to the JR, what's the full diagnosis?
Sir, severe right hemiplegia, young stroke, severe right hemiplegia with possibly thrombotic stroke involving the left amphitheater with no features of.
Now they mentioned a lot of causes for young stroke. Would you like to add in the leftover?
Sir, mitochondrial encephalopathy, lactic acidosis, stroke-like syndromes.
What is that called?
MELAS.
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 So mitochondrial
encephalopathy, lactic acidosis.
and stroke-like polymyalgia runs in families.
Yes, sir.
This particular patient had 3 brothers with stroke at the age of 30 to 35. What do you make
Yes,
out of that?
There is an inherited tendency for stroke, so more chance for.
Okay, I am drawing your attention to another entity called CADASIL. Tell me about CADASIL.
CADASIL.
What is CADASIL? Full form. CADASIL. What is CADASIL? Cerebral.
Cerebral arteriopathy. Autosomal dominant. Autosomal dominant arteriopathy. Stroke-like.
With subcortical
Infarcts and
encephalopathy. So
yes,
cerebral, autosomal dominant, arteriopathy with subcortical.
Subcortical infarct and leukoencephalopathy.
What is CADASIL? CARASIL.
Autosomal recessive.
Same, autosomal recessive. Now you said about homocysteine.
Recessive.
What is homocysteine? How does it produce thrombosis? What's the mechanism? Why does the homocysteinemia produce the problem? What's the mechanism of homocysteinemia producing problem? What is the basic effect?
There will be accelerated atherosclerosis.
What is the biochemical defect? Why the excess cystathione beta synthetase is deficient? That's why it produces the problem. Okay. Tell me some metabolic causes for stroke. Metabolic causes.
Stroke-like presentation can occur in hypoglycemia, hyponatremia.
Fabry's disease is a classical example of a metabolic disease producing a problem. How does cocaine produce CVA? What's the mechanism of cocaine producing CVA?
Sir, it can produce arteriopathy and predispose the patient for ischemic strokes. It can also precipitate arrhythmias and cause embolic stroke.
So one mechanism is production of arrhythmia. That's very good. It's the effect on the heart. Yes. So any other mechanism? It produces vasoconstriction. And you said the platelet aggregation is increased, and it is predisposes for embolism. So couple of mechanisms are there. So tell me something about Moya disease. What's Moya disease?
It's a AV vessel malformation. In the CT angio, there will be puff of smoke appearance.
What happens is a progressive occlusion of internal carotid artery, and it comes like a CVA patient. You do a CT angiogram, you find a lot of collaterals, and it gives a smoky appearance, and that's called as Moya appearance. Okay. Why do you get CVA in pregnancy?
Sir, pregnancy is a thrombophilic state. There will be it is a state of increased thrombophilia, so the patient will be predisposed to embolism formation and stroke.
So you said this is a case of arterial occlusion. How do you differentiate between cerebral vascular accident because of arterial occlusion versus cortical venous sinus thrombosis?
Sir, the arterial occlusion will, the infarct will be strictly to a specified arterial territory. The venous infarcts will be more towards the periphery. There may be associated hemorrhage. Then usually in venous infarct we have precipitating factors like OCPUs immediately post pregnancy. They may present with a headache, seizure,
So first of all, symptoms. Symptoms of venous thrombosis differs from arterial thrombus. Insidious onset of the disease. 2-3 days history of headache, vomiting. Features of raised ventricular pressure. 2. Seizures are very commonly seen. 3. Loss of consciousness or altered sensorium is seen. And when you examine, there may be papilledema. 4. 5. Then you go for imaging. As you rightly said, does not obey an arterial territory and it goes to periphery, and there may be hemorrhagic infarct rather than infarct. So it's very essential to say whether it is a arterial or venous. How do you distinguish between anterior cerebral accidents from posterior cerebral accidents?
Sir,
How do you recognize posterior stroke?
So anterior circulation stroke, usually we have aphasia associated with anterior circulation strokes. Then the posterior circulation stroke will have more of vertigo, cranial nerve symptoms, or will be more pronounced with the posterior circulation dysarthria. All symptoms are more pronounced with posterior circulation.